with one of my VIP coaching clients. We were just talking. Sometimes it's very important that people have a safe space and an outlet just to talk and share and unpack things, as I like to say. So unpack things, put all the things out on the table. And then what I do with my VIP clients is I help them put all the things together and help them make sense of it in a way that pertains to their life and makes sense for their life and makes sense for their goals. And so we were talking a lot about goal setting and what we always set 30 and 90-day goals. And one of the things she said was, I don't really have a goal that's like a number. Like I want to be at this weight by this time, or I want to do this amount of workouts per week, or I want to get in this amount of this per week, let's say. She's like, but I really just want to have like quality time with me and, figuring out what's working for me and slowing down. And in so many words, she was putting this information out there. And I was like, I feel like what you're trying to say is, I want to date myself. Like I want to take it back to the phase where I'm getting to know myself a little bit better. I'm getting to know my wants and needs and what I like and what I don't like and what makes me happy and what makes me productive and what makes, what sets my soul on fire and what makes me just excited about life. And so, I wanted to talk to you about this concept of dating yourself, because it's the same thing like in relationships. So if you've been in a long-term relationship before, or marriage or things like this, you'll often hear, and I'm a huge fan of Esther Perel. I don't know if you know her. She's an awesome relationship kind of counselor and researcher. And, she talks a lot about how in relationships, like people change and evolve, and communication is super key in those relationships. You know this if you've been in a long-term relationship. You know this if you're in a marriage. You know this if you have like a friend who's been your friend for a really long time. You have to keep the lines of communication open. You have to be open and honest in your communication. You have to be consistent in your communication. So that way both of you in the relationship, or in this case, yourself, your relationship with self, can have very clear expectations of like what makes you happy and what you want and what you need to do to get to where you want to be. So just as you would have open communication, consistent communication, and honest communication in a healthy relationship with another person, let's say, it's super important to continue to have that inner dialogue with yourself and have that communication with yourself. I personally talk out loud to myself. So sometimes I'm at home alone. It sounds like I'm having a side conversation with someone else. I personally enjoy talking to myself, but this could be internally too. This could be journaling. This can be sending yourself an audio message. This could just be like thoughts coming in your head. So staying in consistent communication is important for any relationship, but especially with yourself. And the reason why I absolutely love this concept of dating yourself in terms of personal development is that having consistent communication and checking in with yourself on a regular basis helps you increase clarity. And you guys have heard me time and time again talk about this book by Brendon Burchard. It's called High Performance Habits, How Extraordinary People Become That Way. And he did a study in over 200 countries with the top high-performing people in the world, and he narrowed it down to their 7 habits that they practice on a regular basis. 7 habits that people all across the world, regardless of age, gender, where they live, what their profession is, these high-performing people had these 7 habits consistently. And the first habit is clarity. You can see it here. So the first habit that a lot of high-performing people have is clarity. They get super clear with their goals, what they need in their lives, and to progress forward on a regular basis. So it's not just like, oh, I'm really clear about my goals and then I put them away, for the next month or next quarter or next year or whatever. It's actually you're getting very clear, but on a regular basis. You're consistently seeking clarity. You're consistently making sure that what you want and need today is the same thing tomorrow and next week when you check in with yourself. And so understanding what you actually want and need is really important, because oftentimes we rely on other people to figure it out. It's like, well, why don't you just know what I need? Or like, why doesn't he or she just know what I need? Why can't my boss just read my mind? But it's like, if you don't even know what you want and need, if you don't even know what makes you happy, and you don't take the time to check in with yourself, why do you automatically assume that somebody else should do it for you? I see it so many people, like, why can't my boss just understand? How come he doesn't just know that I want him to do this? Like, how come da-da-da-da-da? Well, like, if you haven't taken the time to come into yourself and say, what makes London happy? Like, what does London need right now? Like, London's been stressed or London's been tired, and like, what does that mean? How can I make that better? How can I, strengthen that relationship so that I can learn that, my head can rely on my heart, and my heart can rely on my gut, and getting that vagus nerve connection and that electricity that runs through our body, through our brain, our head space, and our heart space, and also our gut. How can I get that all, clear for myself, so then I can adequately communicate that to others? So then it's not a guessing game for other people on how they should treat me and how they should respect me and how they should, do this, this, and this, because I'm clear with me, and then I'm communicating that clearly to others. And then it's not a matter of like people guessing to figure out what makes you happy. Because in the end, when we look for outside sources to somehow figure it out and trial and error and like, okay, I like that, I'll take that, or I'll take that, it just doesn't work that way. So I wrote some notes here, so I just want to double check that I went over everything. So staying in consistent communication is important for any relationship. Understanding what you actually want and need by increasing clarity, and then knowing what are your goals and dreams and desires, and checking in with yourself on a regular basis. And then I also wrote, you can't get mad at people for not meeting your needs and not treating you nicely or well when you're not even doing that for yourself. And so some key takeaways, or let's say one key takeaway that you can take from this video today, that you can implement today, is set aside, I would say daily 10 to 15 minutes for yourself. I set aside, pretty selfish, or I take a lot of time for myself, usually like an hour or two per day, to really get super clear, manifest my goals and dreams. But like, set a date night for yourself once a week. Just like in relationships, maybe you and your partner have a date night once a week or once a month or whatever. Set a date night for yourself once a week. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, a half an hour, 5 minutes, like, I don't care. And do whatever you need to be with yourself. Now, that doesn't mean like listening to a podcast or watching YouTube videos. Like, be in silence, close your eyes, connect with your breath. Like, ask yourself, like, where am I? Like, how's my stress level? How have I been treating people lately? How have I been treating myself lately? Like, check in with your, how you're feeling. Have you been tired? Have you been frustrated? Have you been, aggressive? Have you been confused? Have you had brain fog? Like, what's been going on in your life, and how can you make it better? And how can you make it better, not just in general, but make it better for you? So, date yourself. Remember that phase when you were in a relationship, and maybe you've been in a relationship for a while, and you remember that dating phase where it's like you cared about everything that you said. And now these days, we don't even give a shit about what we say to ourselves. We will be like, I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm useless, I'm lazy, I'm this, I'm that. But think about like when you were in the early stages of a relationship, either a past or current or whatever one, you're really curious about or not curious, but careful. Curious too, but careful about what you say and how you say it. And you're really nice and really thoughtful. You do nice things for that person. You surprise them. You spend time with them. You listen to them. So you're curious. Like I said, curiosity. You're curious about them. You want to learn more about them. Do the same thing for yourself. Take the time to do the same thing for yourself. Write down some questions that you would normally ask a person like on a date, and then ask them to yourself. So that way you can continue to get to know yourself and date yourself in a way that allows you to connect better and connect consistently and connect on a regular basis. Because the truth is that it's going to change over time. What you're really seeking clarity about today can be different in a week, or can be different in 2 weeks, or can be different next month or next quarter. And that's cool. It should be dynamic. Things should change. But the important thing is that you continue to check in with yourself on a regular basis, because as those things change, your body's going to be like, things are changing. What used to make me happy, it doesn't make me happy now. And you're going to wonder why you're feeling anxious and frustrated and all of these things. But when you come back to yourself and what you actually want and need and get super clear with that, and you work on making that super clear for yourself, you'll be able to make that super clear for others in your life, in your personal relationships, in your professional relationships, etc. So I see